We're just gonna go ahead and jump into this because I'm in big trouble with Will.
Yes.
So, um, because we didn't have an episode on the recap on six, so we're gonna do a smash where we're combining six and seven together. So it's gonna be like a real fast recap of both, and anything that we can remember and want to talk about, we'll do that after like the recap. But just here's like real fast as far as, and I got some notes because I like had to go back and kind of like yesterday's was so traumatizing that like I think I forgot everything about, I mean, I didn't forget everything about six, but yeah. So anyways, what we have is after the chaos in the sewers. We get back. Will and his father are fighting over the fact that Will was down there, and that ultimately he feel like Leroy kind of accuses him of, being responsible for shooting his own friend. They get into a fight. Will is slapped by his dad. Charlotte is like, "Listen, we're leaving. You can whatever you got to do. You can meet us back in Shreveport afterwards." Um, Again, like I said, this is going to be real fast. So anything that like Will can think of in the meantime or wants to chime in on, fine, fine. Lily's kind of on the outs with the losers when after she shows them the shard, but then she gets real all Gollum like with it, where she's like, my shard, nobody else's. She's like, don't touch it, and it's kind of weird about it. Um, Hank is at the black spot that we know. Dick is not happy about it. Ronnie is reunited with her dad. The kids show up there, which automatically you know that this is leading to something not great.
Yeah.
But before that happens, well, I don't actually remember if it before or after it happens, but Marge is at the standpipe and is trying to clean her eye, and little Richie helps her with that, and they form a bond. They're at school eating lunch together. She stands up to the patty cakes. They are having a real moment. You really buy into this couple, which again is only leads to devastation. Um, Lily runs to Ingrid kind of for comfort because the Ronnie basically tells her like, you're kind of responsible for all this, and we're not going back down there. Like, we're not standing up. This like, this is insane. You're
Yeah.
insane. She runs to Ingrid for comfort, and in the meantime, while she breaks into Ingrid's house and works her way up into the attic, which
Yeah.
sit on the porch and wait until you're invited in, but uh, goes up into the attic and sees, I mean, you get what you get. Well, I'm not saying what happened was right, but you get what you get when you break into somebody's house you don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
And she discovers that, I mean, we see that this is going to be Bob Gray's daughter. Obviously, this is Bob Gray's daughter. She was Periwinkle. The little girl, we were right. The little girl, it
Yes.
was a little girl at the circus that we originally
Ain't no
believed.
way Ingrid is 67. I just gotta throw that out there. Like, no, like, no.
Madeline Stowe's aging pretty well. I mean,
Guess so.
it is what it is. So it is really creepy. Ingrid is like, oh, hey, because like we do have flashbacks in that episode of her working at Juniper Hill, and her basically when she finds out that the kids are talking about a clown, she puts two and two together. She thinks this is her father, and that if she just feeds her father, but basically Pennywise is manipulating her to bring kids so he can feed them, and then letting her kind of believe that if she does, then she gets to see her father, and that it will eventually bring her father back. So Ingrid's very excited when she's like, "Oh, hey, you kids have seen him. All you have to do is kind of sacrifice yourself, and now that I get to be with my daddy." So go to. We're back at the black spot.
Well, wait.
Okay, what did I forget?
Knowing that Ingrid was the one at the cemetery, it does go back to how we talked about
Oh
how
yes,
like how did Will and those guys escape? Because like I said, like Periwinkle, Pennywise had him dead to rights inside that crypt. 0% chance he should have escaped. And the kids when they were on the bikes, like yeah, the zombie dead things were coming after them, but we saw what we thought was Pennywise, and it was like, why
right,
is he toying with them? Well, it's because it was Ingrid, and so
right.
That
That's
was
also
why.
why it was able to, Ingrid as Periwinkle shows up in the photograph. Like
Yes.
she was the one thing that stayed because she was a real life human in that photograph. So obviously we're back at the black spot. Hank is bonding with Will, went and asking him questions about, like his relationship with Ronnie. It's very sweet. Marge and Richie are there. They're getting drunk, getting wide.
They've done drugs and alcohol in the last like 2 episodes.
Right. Richie plays the drums. The kids are all having a great time, and I believe the group is called the Society of White Decency. I believe that's the entire name, which is fantastic. They show up because we do flashback earlier, and it's not Henry Bowers. I can't think of what his dad's name is. It might be whoever is Captain Bowers. I think he was actually it. I don't know if it's said, but he might be had been fired. I'm not 100% sure, but he goes to the one bar that they had all been at and is like, "Hey, I know how to find Hank Bowers. A woman called in with a tip, and we know where to find him." And they all show up in their horror masks to the black spot, and then you see you see Ingrid dressing up as Periwinkle. I was seeing how it ends. So we go, basically, that's how I don't want to say episode 7 doesn't start like that. We're actually getting flashbacks of Bob Gray's life in the
Yes.
circus. And you really realize that Bob Gray is actually kind of, even though, I mean, like, he's kind of an alcoholic and kind of down on his luck, he was still a good guy, still enjoyed what he did, had a great relationship with his father, or had a great relationship with his daughter. So it was kind of the reverse of when we do see how he was taken over by the entity, the glue, or whatever we want to call it. A child actually approaches him
Yes.
and leads him into the force. Whereas usually what you see in these kind of things is you see an adult lead a child off into a force. So now we have the reverse, and this is how we learn that Bob Gray, the entity, kind of possesses Bob Gray's form as Pennywise because it's easier to lure children with the clown. Although from everything we've seen in the universe, like everybody's terrified of this clown. So all these kids, like, at what point was he like charming them, because he's always seemed terrifying to me.
That was interesting. And yeah, they were all loving his little performance, and then they jumped on stage, which like stage security was non-existent. And
No.
they start doing his dance, but like yeah, they all loved the clown. So I was like, oh, that's different.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's like and in the movies and in these shows, like when he shows up, it's terrifying. So, like, I guess at some point, maybe we'll see these earlier where he was actually charming and lured kids this way, but I don't know. I mean, maybe he's got to check them teeth. I don't know. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't know how it works, but it eventually has to make them scared and eats their soul. The Society for White Decency shows up. They demand Hank. Everybody pulls their guns. Then they're like, "Hey, no, we're not going to go about it like this." You automatically know this is going to be terrible because they go outside, lock everybody in, light the place on fire, and is shooting. It is chaos, like turned up to an 11. People are
Yeah.
getting their heads blown off. Um, yeah, everything's on fire. Dick is seeing all kinds of ghosts. He does break his kind of rule and actually talks to one, which is that war chief, the
Yes.
indigenous war chief that he sees, who is kind of a kindred spirit, kind spirit, and he kind of says, "Lead me to the children," and gets Ronnie and Will out at least, and Hank Grogan
Hank.
out of the black spot. But 28 minutes into this was
I'm gonna
uh,
post the text on our socials later because yeah.
yes.
I was going
And
through it.
yeah, the thing is, you texted me like right as it was happening, like right as I was watching it. So I was like, yes. And the minute she says there's not enough room, or there's not
Ugh.
enough room for both of us, and he's like, "I know," and I remember going, "No," and I just started, but like, and I just was like, "No," and
Yeah.
I was just, the waterworks started, and it was horrific, and it was so sweet. Shout out to that little boy actor. He did an amazing, both him and Marge did an amazing job.
Yes.
in that scene, it was they had more emotion in some scenes I've seen with adults. I'm not saying in the show, excuse me, but in they were able to bring something that you can't even get out of sometimes adult actors. So
Yes,
shout out to them. In the
that
meantime
was
of all this chaos
incredible.
is happening, Pennywise sniffing the fear and
It
the
was testing the
chaos.
seasoning.
Yeah, he's like, I smell a little seasoning in the air. Shows up obviously to BlackSpot and is feeding and is gorging and is basically this is a just a fear buffet for him. And he's like, I'm full. I'm done. I'm kind of hungry. Kind of want to slip into a food coma right now. And
Yep.
his daughter's like, but hey, Dad, wait, you're. And then I don't know why we had the very lovely scene of HBO loves us to bring us beheadings in all kinds of different fantastical
Half
ways.
beheadings, not even full beheadings. They like the split down the side or this way.
Yeah, so you're left with a very, like just not the neck. The neck is no
That's not good
longer.
enough. That's not
It's
good
not good
enough.
enough. No, no. This is like electrode porn. Like this is they just
Yes.
have to like dial it up to so Ingrid is out in the forest. She is confronted by her husband, Stanley Kirsch, I believe is his name.
Yes.
Okay. And he's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, why are you dressed like that? Because she's dressed as Periwinkle.
His car couldn't
And
start, so he got left behind.
right, right. Because the Society of White Decency, being the decent people they are, fled. Um,
Yes.
and Pennywise whoo, swipes off his head in a wonderful way. And as he's chewing on it and eating from it, she's like, I don't think you're my dad, which was crazy that it took that long.
You were leading kids to the sewers at Juniper Hill, and you like in the one flashback, I think the last episode, you saw the blood coming under the. You knew what was happening. How was this your wake up call?
Like, I don't think you're dead. Pennywise basically taunts her and is like, "Oh, I can still feel him inside me. I can feel him squirming around in there." And you're just like, "This is really gross." And I
Yep.
think at that point, it was when he was eating the head is when I texted you, "What show am I watching?"
Yes. Yes. Oh,
Yes, because you went from the height of emotion with these two young characters to just horrified with them swiping off the head and then eating from it, like eating it like he was eating out of a
emotionally wrecked to completely grossed out within like 3 minutes.
like he was eating out of a Panera bread bowl, for God's
Yes.
sakes. But she ends up getting the deadlights treatment, which I guess is kind of making her a vessel for the entity out there in the world as well, because we do see her in the movie. She's in chapter 2 when
Yes.
Beverly confronts her. So that is why you see her kind of shift her eyes and grin at the end. She is not dead. She's just kind of a vessel, an outward vessel, just
Yes.
one more of his worker bees out there. So Charlotte takes Hank to Rose to smuggle him across the Canadian border. But while they're talking to her, Daniel breaks in and is like, we got some bad things going on because lo and behold, the military has found one of the shards. They pried open the turtle shell, found one of the shards, and Leroy finally realizes, oh, they're not going to shrink the cage of this. They're intending on letting it out because General Shaw says, well, I'm really kind of scared. There's too many changes going on, and I'd really like to scare people back, which sounds a lot like what we
Yeah.
currently got on is
Yeah,
create
that one hit a
fear.
little too close to home,
Right.
right?
Create fear amongst your neighbors so
Yeah.
that way things can go back to the way they were
Yeah.
in the
I mean, I
golden
can't believe
years.
these women's rights movements are just ugh.
Right.
He was like
Right.
listing things off. I'm like, mm.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this seems familiar. This,
Yeah.
yes, let's use fear to rewind the clock. Didn't know we were going back to 1929 and the
Yes.
1930s, but hey, here we are. So Yes, Hank, not Hank, Leroy pulls gun on General Shaw and is like, don't burn it. And General Shaw's like, oopsie, hits the button anyways, and is like, so we got that going on with the military. And I don't know if it's because of that, if it's because of that gate being open, that one little perimeter border area being opened, that we find Pennywise in his corpse coffin up to his nose and blood, wakes
Yes.
up and shows up at Will's house and takes Will. Much like the 1988, 89, where Pennywise he always takes off, he always ends up taking a kid that ends up getting him kind of put down for a while. Like in the 1989 movie, he takes off with Beverly and threatens the kids, like, if you try, you will die. And then they.
What was weird is I thought he was in like I know they broke the rules by melting the shard and leaving the door open, but I thought he was in his coma.
Sure.
Like he'd already completed his task, so I thought it'd be like, oh, well, cool. In 27 years, the door will be open. But he was like, nope, I'm gonna jump the gun. 20. I literally just finished feasting, but hey, let's get back
I,
out there.
I got room for dessert. He's like, you know what?
Right.
You know what? I only had carbs, so now I'm looking for a little protein and I'm gonna
Yeah.
go out and eat some. Yeah. So like I wasn't quite satiated, so I'm gonna head out and do that. Yes, it was very emotional. The kids crying because Marge and Ronnie do show up back to Lily's house. Lily is just sitting on the bed looking out. I don't know what's happening with her.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know. Is that shard making her lose her sanity? Like she's been through a lot, don't get me wrong, but it seems like once she got the shard, everything's
little
different
flipped.
now.
Right.
Yeah.
Little flipped in her
Yeah.
head. Yeah, but very emotional, especially when Marge finds Rich's body next to the trunk or the cooler that he had put her in and sits down next to him. Oh, it's just,
Yeah.
and even then I was still holding out hope when she walks over to his body
I was
and she
waiting for like a
touches
little
hand.
twitch. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. It was like full on sobbing. Like these kids did an amazing job in that scene. It is
Phenomenal.
and just a side note, um I believe after I texted you or after we were texting, I was also texting my daughter and I said welcome to Derry wrecked me and that I hate HBO and all their shows and everybody can just suck a, and she was
Yes.
like, what happened? And I was like, told her what happened. And she was like, well, that's depressing. And I was like, first of all, I need you to stop being robotic about this. And I need
I
you
need you to
to,
feel something.
yeah, I said, I need you to be crying and less robotic, ma'am. And I was like, or else I'll force you to watch the scene. And apparently
I
she
made
found
Sarah
it.
watch the scene and she cried and she knew nothing about the characters because I took a screenshot of our text and sent it to her. And then when I finished the episode, she was like, "So, how was it?" And I was like, kind of breaking it down. And I'm, you know what? I'm just gonna show you. And she's like, "No, please don't." I'm like, "No, I need you to see what
Yes,
I'm seeing." So, so,
right.
so I like jumped to the black spot scene, and I kind of showed how that massacre started, which was a whole thing. But then I kind of skipped forward like 30 seconds to the freezer scene, and I just let it play, and I didn't say anything. I just sat back and let it play. And then once like that scene ended, she like just got up and started wiping her eyes and was like, "Well, all right then."
Yes. So apparently somebody must have posted immediately that scene on TikTok because she goes,
Really?
someone posted on TikTok. She sent me a picture of face discovered. She goes, are you happy now? And I was like, yes.
Oh man.
And I was like, I will be suing HBO for emotional damages. So
Seriously.
yeah, everybody's tweets about it. It's amazing. Amazing. Like again, I can't say enough about these little kid actors just like I said, doing things that sometimes adults in movies aren't capable of doing. It was
Yes.
emotional. And it looks like, I mean, in all honesty, I was thinking, oh, especially when he was talking about going into his food coma, like, oh, okay, we've got our typical HBO formula of our episode 9, which is not episode 8 or episode 7 because there's only 8. Like, okay, we got our big action scene, our big dramatic, because even the indigenous people were like, check you in
Yep.
27 years later,
Yep.
Aubrey
We'll see
happened.
ya.
Like we don't need to worry about it. And
Yep.
uh so I kept thinking, oh, that's what we got, and now we're just going to deal with the fallout of the shard and the border. But pay Penny, like they were saying, like the one General Shaw said, hey, he's asleep. We know he's down for the count now. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to research this thing and run tests on it, which he didn't intend on doing anyways.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, okay, I mean, like, all right, this it was totally okay with. I know there's nowhere to transition for episode at this moment. I knew there was nowhere to go further with the story after episode 8. I knew we weren't, like, oh, okay, they're not going to tease us with episode or season 2 because season 2 is going to go backwards. But it was okay with it. And
Yeah.
was like, okay, we'll just deal with the fallout. And when you watch the trailer for episode 8, like
More drama.
everybody's got a machine gun. Like I don't
Yeah.
I'm very interested in how this is I mean, and from my understanding from people that I have heard that have seen the entire season already, the finale delivers. So,
All right. Well, here's what I have to say about episode 6.
okay.
I get to 7. With episode 6, my biggest takeaway, I did not appreciate how the Hanlon family was treating Leroy in that scene with the whole big fight with Will and Charlotte because Leroy was just as in the dark as everyone else, and you have Leroy pissed off that Will was in the sewers,
Sure.
which led to him almost murdering his son, but instead ended up him killing one of his best friends or his best friend. He had every right to be upset about that because under no circumstances should you have been down there. He's
Sure.
upset as he should be, and then Will hits him when he's like, "You're not gonna hang out with your friends or whatever." Or I'm not like I don't. He said something, but basically Will responded with basically like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not like you. I don't shoot my friends." Or like I would have popped him in the mouth too. Like, how dare you? Days after I had to put my friend in the ground, you go throw that in my face. I was like, "No, Will, that was foul. Go to your room." And then Charlotte kind of being more, I mean, shocked that he hit him, but kind of being like nonchalant about what led to that. But then also kind of like accusing him of like you brought us to Derry. Like, do you leave? He had no idea. He had no idea. But she's like, you brought us here. You're doing this. And she's like, well, I'm taking him and we're going to, my mom's house. And if you decide, and he said, like, I'm in the military. You can't just go AWOL. Like, spoiler alert, you can't do that, especially in that time period as a person of color. Like, they are looking for any reason to take your rank away. You literally saw
Right.
the first episode where that guy didn't want to stand up and salute him. And now he's just like walking in, like, you know what, General? Thought about it. Me and the family are heading out. Like, you just can't do that.
Right.
I realize Pennywise was shedding, and so there was more aggression in the water and all that.
Sure.
But I didn't like the way they framed it that Leroy was the bad guy when he was just as in the dark as anyone else. He was a victim. Will was a victim because Will has been traumatized. He was dragged under the water by this thing. But Leroy has been just as traumatized because he's a part of the missions trying to capture this thing while also having no clue what they're actually dealing with or
Mm-mm.
doing. And so for Charlotte to kind of like throw it in his face and be like, well, you don't care about us. You brought us here. We're leaving. And if you don't want to leave with us right now, I guess come find us maybe. And then Will throwing up like, oh, I don't murder my friends. Like I walked away from that scene and just being like, nah, like Leroy is a victim in this situation as much as anyone else in this
Sure.
family. And I did not appreciate the way they framed that up, where like he was actively out to get his own family.
Right,
That was
but
my
I would
big thing
say
with episode 6.
they did they did show it well as far as like everybody reacted terribly to a horribly like traumatizing event. Now
Yes.
the only thing that I was confused about is that she was like, "We're leaving." Whatever made her, but then like all of a sudden she's just a transition. She's just at the black spot hiding Hank. Like
Yeah.
she never left, but you never saw her make like I
Because
mean,
she
yeah, I
went
mean
and picked up
Ingrid,
Will and Ronnie and took them to the black spot. But the way she was talking previously is like, yeah, maybe she'd swing by the black spot on her way out of town. But it's
right,
like she dropped him off and left.
and left,
Like
and left.
that threw me off as well.
Like you. I mean, again, we know Hank to be a good guy. Like we know
Yeah.
Hank that was, but like you did drop him off at a bar, um, with the
With a fugitive,
with the fugitive,
guilty or not, he is a fugitive. There are people looking for
looking for
him.
him
Like you dropped your kid off
that will
and you
shoot
skedaddled.
first. Yeah, because
Yes.
this is from my understanding 10 years. I mean, I know this may not be set. Well, I mean, it's kind of set in the real world because we're dealing with the Cuba. But I mean, like, I think this would be the 10 years after Emmett Till
Yes.
situation. So, I mean, we are dealing with lynching still at this point.
100%.
Like,
That was weird to me too, because she was throwing it in Leroy's face like we're leaving now. I
right.
got one thing I got to do really quick, and then we're out of here. And that one thing turned into
I'm going to drop my kid
I
off it.
I dropped I Will was about to get his first kiss, and then I ruined that. I threw him in the car, and I took him to the black spot, and then I left. Like the way you were telling Leroy, the way you were talking to your husband, I thought you were like on your way. Bags were packed. You were on your way out. I that was
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
confusing. Like, I don't know if there
yeah.
was something cut in the editing or like just something that we didn't pick up, but that was a strange transition for me because I was like, and then all of a sudden, like, she's gone and like he's just left, he's just left there, to it until the night.
And they don't arrive till the next day. So it wasn't like she had to go run an errand and was going to come back at midnight. Like the sun was up when Leroy and Charlotte showed up the next morning
Yeah, after the place burned
after
down.
the massacre.
They like never once throughout the night, or they like, I wonder
Hey,
where
where's
the
our
kid,
child?
yeah, I wonder where our child is at. Like it's
No,
kind of
very, very good point.
it's getting kind of late,
Yeah,
and Charlotte should be like, oh, I mean, I guess I didn't leave them with any mode of getting home from the
yeah,
deep woods.
right.
And did at that point had she have even told Leroy that she took their son out to that place?
But this is also coming off the heels of her being mad at Leroy because this place was so unsafe. Like, you take the supernatural threat out of it, it's still like very irresponsible. Where's my child? Oh, he's off in the deep woods. But this is hours after you were telling your husband that we are leaving here because it's not
Right,
safe, because there is something
right.
hunting people. Like you add all of that in, and it's like, yeah, like you said, maybe something, a little mini storyline was cut in editing, but that was kind of weird.
It was. It's like you look at it and you're like, okay, that Marge's parents didn't wonder where she was at.
Yeah,
Rich's parents didn't like all these parents like how did people even know their kids were missing?
right. Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I remember there was a lot of good scenes in episode 6, but
Sure.
episode 6, my biggest takeaway was the Hanlon family interaction. This guy accidentally killed his best friend, and it seemed like less than 48 hours later, your son is throwing that in your face, and your wife is okay with that, but mad at you for reacting that way, but then also blaming you for everything that's happened, even though you are literally in the dark, demanding that you leave without acknowledging, like, hey, he's in the military. He can't just leave
Right.
town. Like, that kind of bugged me. But again, I'll chalk it up to Pennywise seasoning was in the water.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
Now,
it's one of
episode
those things where
seven,
it's not so bad that it outshines the good. It's
for
just one of
sure.
those things where you're just kind of like stuck, like this kind of just like this irritated me. But
Yes, exactly. And I think it's important to say that because in this age of media podcast breakdowns, I think some people will look at any criticism of like, oh, I hated the whole thing. And it's like,
right.
no,
Nope.
I think this whole show has been phenomenal, but there
Right.
are things here and there that, yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't
Right.
like it. Doesn't take away from how good the show has been.
Oh no. And like we said, we can't speak enough on the performances last night because it was just
Incredible. Incredible.
it 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 took my breath, like it literally made me sob. I was trying to explain it to the dogs, and I was explaining to them, I was like, I know you're too young to not remember the you weren't around for the red wedding. And they were just
Yes.
looking at me like, because they were gathered in the because I was in the kitchen and I was watching it, and I was like, I know you don't understand because like HBO just does this to us, and you're just gonna have to like, and but I was like, the red wedding just kind of made me angry. I was like, it was
Yeah.
sad, but it just made me angry. I was like, where this just made me sad. And
This
so yeah.
one was rough, and I had made a rule with myself not to get too personal, but I grew up in a black household. I've watched so
What?
many as
Wait a minute. Wait.
I
Are
know,
you
right?
black?
I know, right? Is this breaking news? I had made a deal with myself that I was done watching black struggle movies or shows where basically the black struggle was like the main focal point. Because I remember when 12 Years a Slave came out, 20, whatever that was, all over the news cycle. Oh, you got to see this movie, you got to see this movie. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to watch a movie that was so well done
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't need to see that.
Right.
And so I kind of just stopped watching those movies. Like, obviously, if a movie was set in the 50s or 60s or in the 1800s and slavery or the civil rights movement was a part of it, it's like, yeah, I'll
Mm-hmm.
watch it. But if it's like the main focus, I'm good. I've seen enough of those to last me a lifetime. So I knew what this show was building towards. I
Mm-hmm.
already knew it. It's been talked about, you knew. And but I knew it wasn't the main focal point of the show, but you saw racism throughout the show just because of the time period. It made
Sure.
sense. And then you find out with Pennywise and his shedding into the water, it makes people more aggressive. But still, once the scene started and they had the one white teenager girl like, oh, you ought to be ashamed and get out of here. Like, you knew what time it was. And then when they locked the doors and the fire and the bullets come flying in, it was tough to watch, but I think for me, it was knowing that while there is not an entity of it, an alien in the woods eating kids, what happened at the black spot, I bet my salary actually happened in Mississippi and other places in
Oh,
that time period.
100%.
So that was like, oof. Even though I know it's part of the show and we're blaming Pennywise for most of it, like that was real. So that
Sure.
was tough. And then you see the kids in there, which just adds a whole nother element to it. Just emotionally, that was heavy.
It
And
was.
then you get to Marge and Rich and just, oh, that was, I paused it it was 28 minutes and like 12 seconds. And I paused it and just like had to wipe my eyes and just like take a huge gulp of water, just emotionally like sit with this for a minute. And then that's when I texted you. And then I kept watching. But like that was so heavy
Oh,
and so well done. It did
yes.
everything that the producers, the directors, the cast, the crew, the emotions that they intended to get out of the audience, they, at least for our households, like it worked.
Yep.
You could
And
have
it
stopped the episode at 30-minute mark and I would have been like, that was a full episode.
right there, like, I need a breather. I don't know if I
Yeah,
can do another 30 minutes of this. It
right.
is, yeah, it was, yes. And then it just kept going because
Yeah,
it, yes, it packed that punch of all the kids dealing with just the fallout of everything and just being kind of drug into this adult world of just they're already dealing with their own horrors. but
Yeah.
now like they're dealing with this adult side of the horror, like a man-made, like they knew they had, maybe some of them, all of them had seen Pennywise there, but this was caused by man, and Pennywise just kind of capitalized on it. So I mean, like
Yep.
these kids were dealing with like it isn't just supernatural horrors out there. Like this is now the reality of the situation that we're in. This is bigger than just the entity. These are people that killed Rich. These are
Yeah.
not, this wasn't Pennywise. Like, and I will say, I'm, if we had to lose a kid, I'm kind of glad we didn't lose one to Pennywise. Right now, I know we can't predict, I can't predict what's going to happen in episode 8. We might lose one or two more. I don't
Yeah.
know. But at least losing him, I was glad we didn't lose him to Pennywise,
He
which
went out a
is,
hero in
yes,
spite of everything that was going wrong, the chaos with the entity with Pennywise and the racism and all of that chaos. He went out in the, I would say coolest, but like the best way possible
yes.
as a
It,
hero protecting his friends.
Yes, protecting, where he says that one thing about white knights is they still protect their, they still protect their fair maiden, which it
Yes.
was just, and his little line about he flashes back to, the first time I saw you, you said, take a picture, it'll last longer. And he said, it took me a long time. He goes, but I realized what I would have said, and it was, I wish I could have. And it was just,
That everything about that scene. And then like when I went back and had Sarah watch it, I was like not wanting to see it again. It was still too raw. So I'm like on my phone checking the score to make sure the Chiefs were losing, but I'm still like hearing the dialogue and there's like a little tear coming out and I'm trying to like, oh good, the Chiefs are losing.
these are tears of joy.
it was oh
Yes,
man.
even now, just like even just thinking about it, like I'm
Right.
just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was so well
Yes, it was
done. And the
so
funny
well
thing
done.
is, with the text, I did not want to watch this show. I'm
Yes,
not
no,
a
me
horror
neither.
fan. I've
No,
said that, but the way you were talking about the show, I'm like, you know what? This could be pretty good. And even though I was grossed out with the fingers in the liver in the first episode, the writing has just been so good and the acting has just been so good that I can like look past people's eyes becoming
sure,
snails and being watching people be birthed multiple times
sure.
because there was so much good in this
There's so
show.
much
And
good.
even though I was emotionally wrecked, I'm glad I had that feeling watching the show because it shows like how good writing and acting can be.
Can be, yes. It's just like, oh, okay, even in horror, we can't just brush it off as like B movie type stuff, and it's
Yeah,
Freddy and Jason, and it has no emotional impact and no emotional punch and no stakes that you really feel that are like heavy in these kind of movies. And it did, and they did a
yeah,
great job of it. So yeah, that's our recap for episodes 6 and 7. We're really excited about 8 and what it has to bring, especially knowing that we're not going forward with this. We're going to be jumping back. So I
yeah,
think they've actually done a great job of giving us flashbacks to those time periods. So we don't feel like we're just kind of like going in raw dogging it into the 30s and this
right.
'08, that we have a little bit of footing in each of them to go back to. But we would be remiss not to close out this podcast without the big elephant in the room. Well, there's two. Is one, hello, and thankfully the Chiefs are, I as the kids say, six,
Six,
seven,
seven.
6, 7. We are not Chiefs fans, and we don't apologize for that. If you are, make your own podcast and
Yes,
blast us on there, but because we don't care.
it's so
But
true.
um, that's the one elephant. But the second one would be that Netflix bidding to buy Warner Brothers. And we're not going to spend too long on it because we're already at like 40 minutes here, and we're trying not to waste all your day. But it's not good.
I hate it. I hate it.
Please, please, please. Like this guy. he you don't understand right now, the big people, the big CEOs, they are trying to get you to stay in your house. They are trying to isolate you from one another, because if we are all isolated, we cannot rise up. And I am by no means saying that we are going to relive the French Revolution. I'm just saying that staying in your house without communal experiences and away from each other makes it a lot easier for the Pennywises of the world, for fear to be instituted into your life,
Yes.
and for them to drive division and hatred amongst your neighbor, when hatred and division should be against those that are pulling your strings. That is all
Yes.
I've got to say about that. And
No
please
notes. I agree.
get to the theater.
Yes.
Like, they are wanting you to stay home and to stream stuff at home. And I will tell you, and Will can tell you, because I personally made him watch Top Gun Maverick
Oh,
on the big screen, even
it's
though
true.
he had, I don't know, remember if you had seen it on the small
I
in
had
on
not seen it
the, okay.
yet, but
And
I've watched it on a flight and I've watched it in a theater, and it was like night, and it was like a whole different movie.
right. And I'm just saying that there is a huge difference in seeing things. And to say, well, movie theaters have priced us out of the thing. No, there are season passes. You can buy a monthly pass for any theater pretty much at around $20 to see multiple movies. You do not have to buy concessions at the movie theater. I know that blows people's minds, but you really don't.
It's
I
true.
have taken in food constantly. They do not pat you
They
down
don't
like it is
care.
the TSA,
Yeah.
people. You are allowed to bring in snacks. So please go and see things that you think you will enjoy at the theater, because again, these people are wanting you to stay isolated. And the more they can isolate you and more that they can get you to depend on their products and services, again, then we don't have ways of fighting back and finding, like, it's just it doesn't go anywhere good from this.
Imagine watching Infinity War or Endgame on your couch for the first time. Like when the portals opened and I look to my left and it's just like Sarah and my dog versus a theater full of strangers that in
That
the last
gasp.
hour and a half have become my family. Like you don't get that on the couch.
No, you do not. And that's not to say that every movie deserves to be seen on a big screen. We're not what we're saying at all. I mean, there are
Yeah,
plenty of movies that I'm like, wait for streaming, but
yeah.
there are some that absolutely do, especially like indie films, art films, things that you normally wouldn't think to go see. A lot of times, just kind of support that.
Yeah.
And also, okay, now that we've done that, the little bit thing is that the rumor is that Doomsday is going to be a direct sequel to Endgame. And that Endgame is going to be shown in theaters next year in September. And Doomsday then going to come out, I think it's December, November, December
Yeah.
ish. And that is going to kind of basically wipe out phases 4 and 5.
I don't love it, but I get it. And luckily, you are in a universe where you can justify. I mean, obviously, there's going to be some plot holes, but
Sure.
there
It's
have
comics,
been
they
some.
do it a lot.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like as much as we know the reason, like if they had put hit after hit after Endgame, they probably would have found a different way to do it. But it's because
Mm-hmm.
they've put some duds out, Secret Invasion, that they are now looking at erasing it, retconning it, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Cool. I'm curious. I will be seated in the
Yes.
theater. When they announced it, I told Sarah, I was like, I want to be in the theater. I don't care. I will be there. I need to go back and feel that feeling again.
Oh, yes. That's, again, another one of those theater experiences. As we all walked out of seeing Endgame, we saw the very first. I had seen it prior to, as a critic. I had seen it prior. Then we all went as a family and saw it. And when our youngest walked out, we had seen the very first showing of it that day, the earliest you could possibly see it.
Like 11.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. It was because it was like the Thursday before. I think it was like
Oh, so
three,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. So we come out and everybody's lined up and so excited to go in and see it. And looked at my youngest coming out, who had pulled the drawstrings to her hoodie as close, but was like still audibly, loudly sobbing as we walked out. They were, you saw people's faces go from super excited to super concerned. Oh, I guess that was
That was
Infinity
us
War.
leaving
Oh,
Infinity War.
okay, that was gonna say that's in. I'm sorry, that was Infinity War. Wouldn't even
Yeah.
seen it. So it's like, yes, once again, like you need to see these kind of things, like again, as communities in a communal way, and have that experience with other
Yes.
people when you walk out. So that ends this episode. We touched on again. Thank you for staying with us for the Welcome to Derry, and we hit on the Netflix and Warner Brothers and Chiefs losing, which is always good.
Yes.
And I got to enjoy Victory Monday.
I have
I
to
don't
wait.
I don't know how we
Hopefully.
won that game.
That was, I think the Steelers and Ravens have some of the best individual games
Oh,
like throughout history. You pick a random Sunday afternoon Steelers Ravens games, and it might be one of the best games you see all year.
oh yeah. It's yeah, it was a feast. It was the wildest ending to it. I still was like, that's not a real ending. That's not how football games end. Like that was just like, especially with Steelers, like you even 3 seconds left on the clock, you're like, well,
Right.
this can go badly. Like
Yeah,
let's
you're like, yeah, there's still enough time to ruin my Sunday.
right, right, like let's not get too excited here. And people are like, there's only a minute, there's only 3 seconds left on the clock. You're like, I've been a
Yeah.
fan long enough. Just
Yeah.
trust on this one. Um, yeah, so yeah, good. We're excited about next week. Hopefully the Chiefs lose again. Hopefully Welcome Derry ends great. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I hope you have a good Monday night football game
I hope so. My hopes are not high, but we're gonna see. We're gonna do the best we can.
with what we've got.
Yes.
So, on that note, we're going to say goodbye and hope that you catch us next week. Bye.
Yes.